It's the fourth Monday of the month, and that means I've got another 5 Fun Fact Small Bite episode for you. In these episodes, I get to have fun playing around with different topics. I will share approximately 5 interesting facts, might be less, might be more, about some health-adjacent topic. Sometimes it's nutrition specific, and sometimes it's not. So today, we're talking about sleep on episode 30 of Eat Your Greens. Sleep is vital to our health in so many ways, and I am going to do a full episode about it. But I thought I would just get started with a few interesting facts to pique your interest. But first, some bad jokes. What do you call it when a child refuses to go to bed? Resisting arrest. What dinosaur makes the most noise when it sleeps? A Tyrannosaurus. Sorry, you know I can't help myself. So, let's get started with fun fact number 1. Why am I talking about sleep on a nutrition-focused podcast? I would consider sleep to be vitamin S. Many people are deficient in it, they need more, and it impacts our health directly in a lot of ways. So the topic of sleep absolutely belongs in the Eat Your Greens podcast wheelhouse. Fun fact number 2, almost every organism known sleeps, or at least has some form of rest. Even creatures with a primitive nervous system and no brain will have periods of decreased activity, and those periods follow a circadian rhythm. So circadian means a day-night cycle, right? Around 24 hours. So even primitive organisms will have a period of rest, and it occurs on a regular daily cycle. Many people think that aquatic mammals, that sea mammals like dolphins and whales, don't sleep because they need to surface to breathe, but that's actually not true. What happens is only half of their brain sleeps. So while one half is asleep, the other half is awake, allowing them to surface and breathe so they don't drown. As it happens, humans are the only mammals that will willingly delay their sleep. Fun fact number 3. Let's talk about some other common myths. Number 1, I know you've heard it. People think that when you sleep, you eat spiders. But this is not true. Spiders are not interested in crawling in your mouth while you're sleeping, so don't worry about it. Number 2, alcohol is great for falling asleep. That's a myth. It actually disrupts your sleep more than helping it. You might fall asleep more easily, but the alcohol disrupts your sleep cycles. So when you are asleep, the quality of the sleep is worse, and you're definitely going to feel more tired the next day. Another common myth is that you can catch up on sleep. People who are sleep deprived during the work week believe that they can just sleep extra on the weekend and make up for it, but that's not true. You're still going to have the negative health consequences during that period of sleep deprivation, so you can't actually catch up on it or bank your sleep. It's a common belief that night lights are harmless, but here's the thing. Even with your eyes closed, low levels of light can penetrate through your eyelids and reach your brain, stimulating it and disrupting your sleep. So the best environment for sleep is a pitch black room. Now, we all have those electronic devices and different things with little indicator lights, and it is surprising how bright your room can be just from those little lights. So if you just cannot get a pitch black room, wear an eye mask. I started doing this, and it definitely made a difference. Another thing a lot of people do is leave the TV on or music playing in the background, and they feel like it helps them sleep better. But just like light, noise also disrupts your sleep. So you're going to want to keep it super quiet. If you live in a noisy environment, maybe there's city noise or you're by a railroad track, something like that, you might want to invest in a cheap white noise maker or turn on a fan, something like that to reduce that noise, and that will result in a better night's sleep. And then the last myth is that only your brain controls whether you're awake or asleep. In fact, your muscles, your immune system, and your gut, including your gut bacteria, can all contribute to when and how you sleep. Not only when you sleep, but the quality of your sleep. All right, fun fact number 4. Usually I talk about the health benefits of whatever subject I chose for my episode. But today we're going to talk about how sleep deprivation can be harmful. A lot of people think that being sleep deprived is harmless. They think they can function just fine on 6 hours or less of sleep nightly. And I'm telling you, it's just not true. So now we all know how sleep deprivation can affect our brain, right? You have difficulty concentrating, remembering. You may have difficulty with problem solving and even learning. So if you want your kids to get better grades, make sure they get enough sleep. We also are familiar with the effects on our mood if we haven't gotten a good night's rest. Lack of sleep makes you irritable. It gives you mood swings. It raises your stress hormones. And people who are chronically sleep deprived have higher rates of anxiety and depression. Now, of course, that's a vicious cycle. The more anxious or depressed you are, the harder it is to sleep. The less sleep you get, the more anxious and depressed you can be. So it is important to the best of your ability, get treated for those conditions, but doing everything you can to get a good night's sleep is a part of that treatment. Sleep deficiency affects every system of your body, not just your brain. It raises your risks of heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, and obesity. We'll talk about obesity in a bit. Lack of sleep not only has a negative impact on your mental and cognitive skills, but also your physical performance. So it can impair your coordination. You may have a longer reaction time, and your motor skills just aren't as sharp. It's well documented that people who are sleep deprived have a higher rate of injury. You may also have heard that some school districts around the country have shifted to a later start time, and this is to give students more time to sleep. When they looked at districts where the high schoolers who are driving had later start times, they noticed a dramatic reduction in the number of car accidents in those districts. And, of course, that means a subsequent drop in deaths, in related deaths of the students. Sleep deprivation weakens your immune system, and it leads to higher levels of inflammation. So if you have chronic pain or other chronic inflammatory diseases like arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, you may have worse symptoms if you're sleep deprived. All right, I mentioned the higher risk of obesity in people who are sleep deprived, and that comes down to alterations in hormones. Sleep deprivation can change the production of hormones that are involved in how hungry or full you feel. This is leptin and ghrelin. So when those hormone levels are out of whack, it's going to be more difficult to stop eating, and people tend to overeat when they're sleep deprived. It also impairs your insulin sensitivity. Recall that type 2 diabetes is caused by insulin resistance. And so if you're sleep deprived, your cells are not going to use that insulin as well, and your blood sugar is going to go up, which also increases your risk for weight gain and obesity. People who are dieting while sleep deprived may actually burn off more muscle rather than fat. And that's because your body thinks it's in starvation mode. That's a crisis mode. And it's going to want to hang on to those energy stores in the fat. So even if you're losing weight, it may not be healthy weight loss if you're sleep deprived. And then the last effect that sleep deprivation can have on our health is it can actually alter gene expression. That's called epigenetics, and it's how we turn on and off various genes in our cells. And sleep deprivation can actually affect that, raising your risk of various chronic diseases over time. All right, fun fact number 5. You may be getting rest while you're sleeping, but your brain is not. It's actually very active during sleep. One of the main things that happens is memory consolidation. Remember I said that if you want your kids to get better grades, make sure they get plenty of sleep. When scientists studied sleep and learning, they discovered that when they gave subjects a list of things to memorize, the subjects were better able to remember it if they were allowed to sleep between the time that they learned it and the time that they were tested on it. Another study found that high school students get better grades on the SAT exam if they got plenty of sleep before the exam. Your ability to learn facts is improved by sleeping, but interestingly, your motor memory is also affected by sleep. So if you're trying to learn to play an instrument, if you're an athlete learning a new skill, a gymnast or a dancer learning a new routine, getting a good night's rest will actually improve your ability to remember the physical movements involved in your skills. So yet another reason to get a good night's sleep. Fun fact number 6. This is an interesting one. Back in the day, most people believed that we only dream in black and white. In fact, in the 1950s, psychiatrists noticed that a higher percentage of people in mental institutions claimed that they dreamed in color, and so doctors thought that dreaming in color was actually associated with mental illness. However, by the late 1960s, the number of people who said they dream in color jumped to 70%, and nowadays it's close to 90%. So what changed? Why did people believe that they dreamed in black and white a long time ago, and now everybody thinks they dream in color? Well, it was the introduction of color TV. Apparently, even though most of the people in the world live their lives seeing in color, it was the introduction of electronic media in color that changed how we perceive our dreams. So there you go. Which category do you fall in? Are you a black and white dreamer, or do you dream in color? Your answer may depend on what year you were born. That's it for this small bite fun fact episode. It takes a lot of energy to record a podcast, so I think maybe I'll take my own advice and go take a nap. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to follow Eat Your Greens on whichever podcast app you like to use. And if you feel extra motivated, go ahead and give it a 5-star rating and leave a review. It's very helpful. If you'd like a free guide to transitioning to a plant-forward lifestyle, you can go to the Eat Your Greens website. That's www.eatgreenswithdrblack.com. And you can scroll to the bottom of any page and subscribe. I'll send you your free guide, and you'll get an email every time I release a new episode. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to eat your greens. Please be aware that this podcast provides general health information about nutrition and feeding of infants and children and is meant for educational purposes only. It's not intended to replace the important relationship between a parent, child, and pediatrician. If you have concerns about your child's nutrition, health, or growth, please consult your doctor.